Peace, 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 peace. Peace. Welcome back to the Universal Temple for the sun, planets, moon, and stars. I'll be your Lord of Hosts, Lord Messiah. And today we're going into the the Performance Agreement, not the Music Trust Agreement. We did that already. Okay. So now we're going into Performance Agreement between John Doe and Lord Messiah, aka Mass Asiatic. So this Performance Agreement is Universal Studios and Associates Performance Agreement between John Doe and Lord Messiah, aka Mass Asiatic. And we're going to get into explaining how this contract works and so forth. So this contract, the Performance Agreement, made and entered into this on the day of and year, the execution date, between John Doe, which is, a generic, legal name for my, actual legal name to protect the names of the innocent, of course. So acting as trustee near 123 Make Believe Street, anywhere town, 12345. The purchaser of the first part. And Lord Messiah, the Mass Asiatic, near Lord Messiah 360 at yahoo.com, the performer of the second part. So you got the purchaser and the performer. The background. The performer is a professional entertainer known as Lord Messiah, the Mass Asiatic. The purchaser wishes to engage the performer and is willing to undertake to do so, subject to the terms and conditions as follows. In consideration and as a condition of the purchaser hiring the performer and other valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency in which consideration is acknowledged here. The parties to this agreement agree as follows. So you got the business address. The performer will be represented by a business manager. Put the business manager's name there. And payments by check or money order should be made out to the business manager. The performance and the business manager is basically, John Doe. Your legal name. Whatever your legal name is, you're going to, because remember, you got to sign checks in your legal name. So the performer's business address is as follows. Business manager, John Doe, trustee 4, music trust agreement 4, Lord Messiah, aka Mass Asiatic. Address near 123 Make Believe Street, anywhere town, 12345. Telephone number. This is my old number here, but I got a new number now. But anybody want to contact me, you can contact me by email. Right there, Lord Messiah 360 at yahoo.com. Business address or Messiah the Lord on Facebook. Business address of the purchaser. The purchaser's business address is as follows. I use just, generic addresses, of course. Address, 123 Make Believe Street, telephone number, email number. Venue, the place of performance. The venue is located at name Universal Studios and Associates. Address, 123 Make Believe Street, telephone number. Performer. The entertainment to be provided by performer is generally described as follows. Artist shall record song or songs in studio at Universal Studios and Associates or at the Universal Studios Associates or one of the Universal Studios Associates. That's why it's called Universal Studios and Associates. Because if you don't record with us, then we could contact you with somebody else where you can perform with them or record your song there. Before recording song, the artist must pay half of the scheduled fee, the performance, for the performance. Date and time of performance, the performer will be as follows. The performance will be as follows. So you put the time, so forth. Where it's at, what it's going to be. Payment in full consideration for all services rendered by the performer at the performance. The purchaser agrees to pay the performer in full way. The performer shall pay fees for the recording session. Afterwards, the artist can purchase copies of the record, song, and sell them for profit, or receive donations for the promotion of his or her newly recorded song. Yeah, see, and that's how you get around, you know, having to have a, if you don't have a tax ID or so forth, you could be in places and you can offer people access to your music, and if they like to. So anyway, if and any performer is, if and when performer is booked to perform for an associate of Universal Studios and Associates, the performer shall be paid a fixed rate for each song performed and additional fixed rate fees if the audience requests an encore for the performer. So the fee. The performer with reasonable access to accounting records demonstrating the gross receipts relating to the performance. So in other words, you get a receipt, for the fee that was paid. Deposit. The purchaser will pay the performer such and such amount, US dollars, as a deposit, which is known as the deposit, by such and such date. If the purchaser fails to provide the deposit promptly by such and such date, the performer may cancel the agreement without further obligation. Performer expenses. The performer agrees that the fee is inclusive of all expenses, accommodations, holiday entitlements, traveling expenses to and from the venue, and covers any payments whatsoever due to set on the final date of the performance. The performer will pay the purchaser will pay the performer any outstanding balance on the fee in cash, money order, or certified check. So in other words, let's say if you did like shows all week or whatever, you performed at this certain venue like 5 nights in the week, and then when you're done with those payments, you will get paid. Let's say you got paid half of that up front, then you get paid your other half, when you're done. Cancellation. The performer reserves the right to cancel this agreement without obligation upon written notice to the purchaser prior to said date. You'll set the date and so forth. In the event the purchaser cancels the performance under the terms of this section, they got to return the money back to the purchaser, because the purchaser gave them half of the money, in good faith for them to do the performance. And now they canceled the performance, so the purchaser needs to get their money back. You know what I'm saying? That's rightfully so. So the purchaser reserves the right to cancel the agreement without obligation upon written notice to the performer prior to such and such date. So they both got the right to cancel. In the event that the said cancellation in the event of said cancellation, the deposit will be returned promptly. Cancellation by the purchaser for any reason later than such and such date will result in forfeit of the deposit. So in other words, if he doesn't cancel by a said date for whatever reason, then he don't get his deposit back, basically, because he didn't cancel by the agreed upon date. Cancellation by the purchaser later than said date will also require payment of any outstanding balance of the full fee. Right. So in other words, if you did your performance from say Monday through Thursday night, and then on Friday night they're like, oh, we gotta cancel, something happened, blah blah blah. Okay, well, you still gotta pay me the rest of my money for my performance. You know what I'm saying? Even though we didn't do Friday night. So moving on. Non-performance by purchaser. Those obligations of the purchaser that are to be performed prior to the performance of the performer are conditions precedent which must be performed in full by the purchaser. Before the performer is required to perform are conditions precedent which must be performed in full by the purchaser before the performer is required to perform, unless otherwise agreed to by all parties in writing. So in other words, if they agree to pay half of the fee up front, and they they are to pay half of the fee up front. Those are the conditions that are precedent before any performance. So before I perform, all right. So if the purchaser cancels or postpones any performance without proper notice, or fails to make any payment, or fails to perform any other condition precedent as required by this agreement, then the purchaser will be in breach of the agreement, and the performer will have no further obligations under this agreement. The purchaser will forfeit any have to pay back any of the money, you know what I'm saying? And whatever deposit, you know what I'm saying, the purchaser will forfeit any deposit already paid to the performer. So if he already gave the performer half of the money and then he canceled, hey, the performer keeps the money. So that's why they got those set dates in there and all of that. So to give them like a marker to know, like, okay, you got to do things and let us know in writing before these set dates. So security deposit. The performance, the performer will not be required to post any bond or security deposit based on that. You know what I'm saying? Like if he gets hurt or something happens, or you know, the show gets shut down or something like that, like it's not the performer's fault necessarily. Anything beyond his control. So this here force majeure, or however you pronounce that, neither the performer nor the purchaser will be held liable for any failure of reasonable control of the performer and the purchaser. Sickness and accidents. Okay, the performer agrees to meet its obligation under this agreement, such as to legitimate incapacity by sickness or accident. Failure to meet its obligations under this section will result in the performer's. So in other words, you know, if you got the money or whatever, and then all of a sudden you got sick, or you became incapacitated, or you know something happened or whatever, or you just failed to meet the obligations for whatever reason, then the performer must return all the deposits, you know, made to the purchaser. So no recording of the performance. So recording or transmitting of the performance by anyone through any means whatsoever. Supposed to be like, yo, no recording, turn your phone off. If we see you with your phone, you're gonna be asked to exit the building, you know what I'm saying, type thing. Like, yeah, you can't be recording, because we got our own cameras here. We're performing the performance, and we're gonna sell this recording and make our money. You know what I'm saying? We don't want people in here like, you know, doing their little ghetto recordings, putting it on the internet and all that. So now we can't make money off the performance. So yeah, that's what that's for. Okay, merchandising. And other such items for sale at the performance. The purchaser will provide a suitable area with responsible visibility and accessibility to facilitate merchandising. So in other words, they're going to give you a little spot to set up to sell your CDs, tapes, you know, what have you. You know what I'm saying? Products, promotion, clothing, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what's up. So you got indemnification. The performer is responsible only for its own conduct. Indemnified for things of that matter, that nature. So permits. The purchaser warrants and represents that it has obtained all permits, approvals, licenses, and variances necessary for the performance. So in other words, you ain't going to be performing in a place that's like not regulated or not, you know, certified under the state or whatever, or not legal or whatever, or licensed. You know, they're going to have their permits, their license. And representatives are allowed on the stage or in the backstage area. Right. So only you and the people you came with, you know what I'm saying, supposed to be on the stage or in the backstage area. Anybody else ain't supposed to be there. And you're not responsible for them. The purchaser is not responsible for them. Picket lines. The performer will not be required to cross a picket line established by a labor organization at the venue, nor will the performer be disciplined or this agreement be considered or deemed breached by the performer by reason of the performer's refusal to cross such picket line. Governing laws. The purchaser and the performer submit to the jurisdiction of the courts of the state of New York for the enforcement of this agreement or any arbitration award or decision arising from this agreement, from their obligations under this agreement in all respects in good faith. Additional clauses. If there's any additional clauses that you would like to add to this contract, they got some lines there, some space for you to add that in. Any like special provisions or certain things, or well, maybe we left out this, or this is a certain condition, whatever, blah blah blah. So you add that in there. Miscellaneous terms. Time is of the essence in this agreement. This agreement may be executed in counterparts. Facsimile signatures are binding and are considered to be original signatures. Right, so you can send it by, fax, email, what have you. No part of the performance may consist of acts and violence, starting no fires on the stage. We're not doing anything like sexually illicit and nothing like that, or indecent exposure, nothing crazy on the stage, you know what I'm saying? That could get it shut down and nothing like that, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a nice, clean show. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe like the most like it may be some cursing or something or blah, 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 you know what I mean? But nothing crazy to get the crowd, crazy. And they say, oh, there was a riot because of what he said. Or, no, none of that. So the performer's representative, my state setup, that's how I operate. So don't pay no attention to the headings. You know what I'm saying? Just pay attention to the contract, basically. So anyway, words in the singular mean including the plural and vice versa. Words in the masculine gender include the feminine gender and vice versa. Words in the neuter gender including the masculine and feminine gender and vice versa. Severability. This is a very important clause. Will in no way be affected, impaired, or invalidated as a result. So in other words, if there's a clause in here that's basically not permissible by the court, so they like, nah, we don't rock with that, that's not legal, that's not acceptable, or that's not possible, or whatever, illegal, then okay, exclude that from the contract, but everything else in the contract still stands. That's basically what that's saying. So that's basically saying, like, if you put something in any of your contracts that was like, not going to be accepted by the court or not proper in law, then they'll just exclude that from the contract and keep everything else. So that's a good clause to put in your contract to prevent them from being like, hold on, wait a minute, you said this right here, and this doesn't make sense because it contradicts what's up here, and you said this, and so that'll prevent conflicts of interest as well. You know what I'm saying? So severability is a very important clause. Anyway, this agreement contains the entire agreement between the parties and cannot be changed except by written instrument subsequently executed by the parties to this agreement. All negotiations and understanding have been included in this agreement. So 33, statements or representations which may not have been made to the purchaser by the performer or to the performer by the purchaser in the negotiation stages of this agreement may not in some way be inconsistent with the final written contract. May in some way be inconsistent. Right. All such to look it over. So there's no verbal adjustments of the contract after it's signed and done. You know how they say, sign, sale, deliver, man. It's done, man. Like, that's that. So basically, you want to make sure that you read your contracts very thoroughly before you put your autograph or signature on it. Okay? So 35, the performer specifically warrants and reps. All right. You've been licensed with the authority to represent those, those entities and so forth. So the performer indemnifies the purchaser for any copyright infringement and any expenses that may result from such copyright infringement during or as a result of the performance. So in other words, the purchaser doesn't necessarily know what your copyrights are and your this and that and da-da-da-da. So if anything happens, like if somebody see your symbol, suitable power and electricity for the performance, Right, because, you know, you performing at the venue, you know, they got to have some lights on in this mug, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? How we going to set up? How the mic going to work? How the people going to hear the sound? We ain't got no speakers or energy, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's their responsibility. 37, it is the intent of the parties to this agreement that the performer is an independent contractor or, you know, saying a licensed contractor as well, you know what I'm saying? But more so an independent contractor and will not control the manner and means of the performer, of the performance. The performer will control the scheduling of the performance. The performer is not an employee of the purchaser. Right, he's not an employee of the purchaser, even though he's doing a deal with him because, like, look, he's independently contracting. He's an independent contractor. So it's not like I'm working here as an employee. It's like, yo, I got a contract. I'm independently contracting. If you agree to go into business with me based on this contract, then more so it's like you could say we are partners or not even partners, but parties to this contract. And when this contract is said and done, I do my performance, I get my payment and everything, then we're done. We go our separate ways. And if we want to do business in the future, we could do so again. You know what I'm saying? But however, this contract is what it is. Once all the performances is done, the payments is made, everything is done. Shake hands and go your way. It is what it is. So 38, the exclusive nature of this agreement is limited to the duration of the performance. Right, so this contract only exists during the time of the performance. Once the performance is done, the contract is done. And it is expected that the performer will enter other similar agreements with other purchasers. Right, so in other words, if you do a good show and it's a good performance, like, you know, we're going to do some more business. You know what I'm saying? Or we might get booked at another show, you know, to do something somewhere else. You know what I mean? So, especially like in a rap battle, you know, in the battle rap, genre of hip hop, rather I say, you know, that's real big because, like, if you do a show in the United States and people see that across seas, man, pay for your room, hotel, all of that, like, you know what I'm saying? That'd be part of your, you know, your deal and your, you know, but yeah. So anyway, 39, any notices or delivery required here will be deemed completed when hand delivered by agent, or 7 days after being placed in the postage prepaid to the parties as at the respective addresses. And here you got the, you know, the email. I'm at the email, the notary. So when you get it notarized, you know what I mean, you got the autograph for performer. The performer puts their autograph there, and that box right there is for your thumbprint if you want to put a thumbprint. If you ain't got no red ink, whatever, I took a red ink pen, colored my thumb, you know, licked it a little bit or whatever, spread it out, and put my thumbprint on there. Bam. Now, once you put your thumbprint on there, the reason for that is like showing and proving that nobody else in the universe has your thumbprint. So this is what, like they say, Rule 902, evidence that is self-authenticating. That's another form of evidence that is self-authenticating. And it proves that it was you and nobody else in the universe, because nobody else has your thumbprint. So that was definitely you that autographed it. Okay, so John Doe, performer for Universal Studios and Associates. And then, you know, certificate of notary acknowledgement. You're going to get it notarized, blah, 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 blah. Get it signed. They put their seal on there, and you're done. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, was the performance agreement for your legal name and your performance name. See what I'm saying? John Doe and Lord Messiah. So basically, when you want to do performances, you have a contract that you can go and do business with. So when you speak to the venue owner, you speak to him, ask, you know, set up a meeting, go in there with your suit on, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got to have your do-rag on. Yeah, we know we hip-hop, but put your suit on, man. Go in there, speak a professional. You know what I'm saying? Study this contract, understand the terms and the word clauses in the contract. You understand the terms of the contract, and when you're explaining it to him, it's not like, yeah, I got this from my dude, and yeah, you want to do business, sign the contract. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you may not even read the contract, and then and you not know all the stipulations of the contract, and he be like, okay, I'll sign it for you, whatever, da da da. But you probably ain't even read it. So when it comes to like getting your money if he canceled the show, or if it comes to getting your money halfway up, if you didn't read the contract, you don't even know that that was supposed to happen. So help for people and break down the terms, to the best of my ability. You know what I mean? And once again, none of this was legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, anything like that. If you seeking a lawyer, you could do so on your own. But yeah, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. And yeah, so yeah, and it's like I say, I give you some education along with it, because when you get the document, you need to know what to do with it, or what you're doing with it, or what you intend to do. And on that note, I'll say peace.